And
Thank you
welcome
very much.
everyone to our Thursday evening webinar back for 2026. And I'm joined here by Luke Orban, my colleague, and we're going to be talking about winter in the English classroom. And so I hope everyone had a relaxing Christmas and New Year period. I let you know that the chat is open and we'll be asking you some questions during like having a little bit of a quiz on winter vocabulary and idioms. And so make sure you open that and get that working there. Um, with that, just a reminder that you will receive a certificate of participation and a webinar handout in the next few days. Generally, we send it out on Friday. If not, it'll come out on Monday. If you don't get it by Monday, send us an email at formazione@mlaworld.com. Don't worry, you don't need to send us an email to get it. You will get it automatically, but sometimes it gets lost. So check your spam. If not, you can email us there. There will also be a handout, so all the information from the slides and a lot more. There's actually quite a few handouts here, or sorry, worksheets that you can use, print out, or use them virtually with your students. So that's really useful and a lot of useful links. Okay. Just to begin, as everyone knows, it's winter in whether you're in Italy, in the UK, in America, or other places around the world, whether you're in an area blanketed by snow or just where the temperature drops a little, it's a very evocative period. And I think we can use this, as we can use all seasons, I guess, in some way, as to talk about themes of it. So we can interest students in their surroundings, get them using the language to describe what's in front of them or maybe what's not in front of them, but they can see on screens or on films, things like this. Okay. Let us know in the chat what your favorite aspect of winter is. Okay, we talked about Christmas and New Year's a few weeks ago before the Christmas period. So apart from that, do you have favorite things? Is it going to the mountains or is it getting to travel during the Christmas period? What's your favorite thing about Christmas, Luke?
Um, I
Presents.
think having a break and then getting able to travel for a sustained period of time, I think. But what I am particularly looking forward to this winter, I suppose, is the Winter Olympics, which I believe is in Milan.
Oh,
Um,
wow, nice. Okay.
I believe they're in Milan. Yeah, I think so. I mean, that would be quite a good novel thing for the teachers.
Mm,
For the participants, sorry, to kind of use in their lessons, especially if they're based in kind of the north of Italy, in the proximate area. Kind of looking at winter sports, which we don't always tend to think about.
yeah.
And
Yeah, we've got a few people here in the chat saying that going skiing and winter sports, winter games are their favorite thing. So, great. And yeah, let us know in the chat if you're planning on attending any of these Winter Olympic events. Okay. With that, I'm going to hand over to Luke, who's going to present a little bit and tell you about the objectives.
Perfect. Thank you, Josh. Yes, welcome everybody. Hope you all had a good Christmas period and a good start to 2026. As Josh mentioned briefly, we're going to be looking at winter and kind of various things to do with the winter, the cold weather, and how we can incorporate those into our English lessons. So I will be looking and explaining how we can use kind of idiomatic expressions and gamifying those, and also some vocabulary which probably is unique to the winter period. We wouldn't use it. We'll use some of the words throughout the rest of the year. So yeah, vocabulary and idioms related to um, sorry, related to the winter time, the cold weather, and then moving towards the end, the back half of the presentation, Josh will be going through English literature and some poetry with you, which you could maybe incorporate into your classes as well.
Indeed, if anyone's like, even the name of this poet is quite wintry, so if that might be a bit of a clue for people what we're going to be talking about, or who we're going to be talking about. Anyway, with that, let's move on.
Okay, so as I mentioned, winter vocabulary. It brings up some words which can only be used during the winter, right? During the cold weather. We're going to look at a few of them now. So if we play this video, Josh, and we can ask the participants some
Guys,
questions.
I'm Alex, and welcome to this lesson on winter
Can you hear that? Is that playing, Luke? Sorry, just want to make sure. Okay, sorry, I'll start there again. Okay.
vocabulary. So I'm from Canada. I live in Canada, and right now it is winter. It's very cold. I'm jealous of people from Brazil and India and everywhere where there's no snow right now. So today I'm going to teach you a little bit about winter vocabulary, since many parts of the world have winter. Okay, so I have some pictures, and they all represent things related to winter. So these pieces of ice that hang down, from either a building, a roof, something, they're hard, they can hurt you. These are called icicles. Icicles. So in the winter in Canada, you must watch out for falling icicles from tall buildings. They can hurt you. It's not cool. Okay. Obviously, most of you know what snow is, or the word is snow. Now, a single piece of snow, right? Each little piece of snow we call a snowflake. So one piece of snow, if you can call it a piece of snow, is a snowflake. Okay, so in the winter, it snows a lot. And if you look outside, you can use the verb, and you see snow falling, you can say, it's snowing. Okay, just like raining, but snowing. Now, in the winter, sometimes when you have lots of snow and it gets wet, and if it's on the street and there are many cars driving over the snow becomes brown and a little bit like, not really water, but very, very dirty, very messy, very sloppy. When snow becomes like this, like brown and wet, we call this slush. So this is slush. Okay. So we can say, if I ask you, how is the weather outside? I can say, it's slushy. Okay. So slush is not good for your shoes because the water gets into your socks, and it's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. Okay. Here we have an unfortunate situation. There's a man, maybe a girl, and they're walking on the street, and then suddenly, whoa, they almost fall because there's ice on the floor, right? There's ice on the street. So we can say it's icy outside. It's icy. So the sidewalk, for example, can be icy. If it's icy, that means it's slippery, because if you can fall, you can slip. So the road is slippery. Slippery. Okay, this is an adjective. Now, when we talk about temperature, most of you know the word cold, right? So, and when you start from the top, we have hot and everything like that, but if we start from cold, let's put cold over here. Okay, what is a little warmer than cold, but still not that nice? We say chilly. It's chilly. Okay, what's a little bit warmer than chilly, but still not warm, is cool. So we have cool, chilly, cold. So think about it this way. Cool, Okay, not bad. It's okay. It's cool. Chilly? Okay, I need a jacket. I need a jacket. It's getting chilly. Cold. Okay, it's cold. Then the worst one, we have freezing. It's freezing. Now, freezing is like this. You're shaking. It's very, very cold. It's freezing. Okay? Okay, guys. So, if you ever visit my country, come to Canada, be prepared, have a winter hat, winter jacket, be prepared, watch for icicles. Don't go out in the snow when it snows too much, although it's pretty. Stay away from slush if you want your shoes to be dry. Don't fall. Just don't fall. That's it. Okay, guys, if you want to test your understanding of this vocabulary, check out the quiz on angvid.com. Take care. Stay warm. Happy holidays, even though that's in December. Enjoy your winter. Take care.
Okay. Hope the presenter, I forgot his name, has given you some new vocabulary that you didn't maybe know or know how to use before. So let's see if you can remember some of the words that he wrote on the board. So what do we call snow that has become brown and wet on the ground? Put your answers into the chat, okay? Some very observant participants. What are some synonyms for cold? If you'd like to pop those into the chat as well, please. You can use any of the kind of gradients.
I just changed the video so they're not visible there. Okay.
Cold, chilly, chilly, freezing. Okay.
Okay, let's see the okay, so we had this.
Good responses in the chat, and yeah, I think all of those words that you popped up on the screen, Josh, in red, were mentioned in the chat. As Josh said at the beginning, you'll get a handout, and the link for the video and other videos are contained in the handout you will receive. Next
Yeah,
slide.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And we've got some worksheets to do with this. So, like, you'll receive this link. Feel free to play that, and you'll have some material that you can actually print out for your students there. Also with this next one, I think. Okay.
Okay, so idioms. Idioms are a tool that we use in language, probably best suited for more advanced learners. I would say B1s at an absolute minimum, B1, B2, and more advanced students. Idioms are a way to create kind of imagery and storytelling whilst presenting language. So we can do that with relation to the winter. And the cold period. So here are a few that we've got.
Oh, Alessandra's got one in the chat. It's raining cats and
Cats
dogs.
and dogs. Yep,
Okay, very nice one.
very good. Yeah. I'm currently in the UK, and that is exactly what it's doing. Okay, so we've got to be or to walk on thin ice.
Let us know in the chat if you know the meaning of these, if you can give us an explanation of any of these.
Or
Okay.
even if you don't, have a guess.
Yeah, exactly. This can be a really good. That's a good point, Luke. It's can be a really good fun activity to do these sort of guessing games, or they can guess what the idiom means.
To get or to have cold feet. The snowball effect. And to be snowed under. So what do we think the meanings are for these four idioms? You can also, I guess, with the onset of like kind of technology, you can use emojis as well in your classroom. So you could put some emojis onto the board and then get the students again to guess what the idiom is based on the emojis that you've used. So we've got cold feet, so a snowflake with some footprints, and then snowball effect, a snowflake rotating with a graph going upwards. So
So
we've
there's
got
two sort of ways. Sorry to interrupt, Luke. I
that's
think
okay.
there's two ways you could approach these sort of emojis, or you could do them as sort of like a what's that called? Pic. What's that game called where they
Dictionary.
or things Pictionary? That's it. Okay, you could do the same sort of thing. I guess one way is like for cold feet, where you just have cold and feet or snow
Mhm.
and feet. The other way is like, for example, a snowball effect where you have the graph going up, which sort of indicates a bit of the meaning behind it as well. Okay.
Mhm.
I think Amelia in the chat has got that one. Okay. Um, sorry, go on.
Cool. No, and we've got a few others here on the screen. We've got 4 of the 10 up, but you'll get this in the handout that Josh mentioned.
The
So
answers are there too. So you'll find when you find in the worksheet, the two worksheets we've got for this week, we've got one worksheet with the questions and one worksheet with the questions and the answers highlighted. So make sure you give out the right one. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, there's some more on there. So we've got 4 of the 10 on the screen. So to be or to walk or to sorry, to be or to walk on thin ice is to be in a risky or dangerous situation. Okay. Often said to students who are in trouble or
Yeah, yeah.
on the verge of getting in trouble.
Might be something like you have a chance to use, I would say.
You're treading on thin ice. To get or to have cold feet is when one feels nervous, as it says, to follow through with a plan or a commitment. The snowball effect, as Amelia put into the chat, is a situation which kind of grows and gets bigger and bigger and gets kind of out of control. So if you imagine a small snowball at the top of a hill, and then it starts moving down that hill, it will acquire more snow, get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you won't be able to stop this now large snowball. And then to be snowed under is to have an overwhelming or insurmountable amount of work to be completing.
I mean, there is a sort of literal meaning, I guess, of to be snowed under. So if you are in a house and the snow has gone up beyond the windows or the door, or in a car or something like that, you can say, my car is snowed under, the house is snowed under, or something like that. And so I guess that's the metaphor of your desk being covered in paper or work to do. Okay? Even if it's not a literal thing that you can see, we have this sort of metaphor of being covered by work and having like it's overwhelming. Yeah.
Mhm. Perfect. Thank you, Josh. And then we've got a game to kind of go through now. So this is a fun activity which you can maybe do at the start of a lesson as a warmer to introduce the activity, to kind of activate prior knowledge, and get the students thinking about the kind of vocabulary, the kind of things, verbs, nouns they're going to be using in the lesson to come. So to prep, you give each student a two pieces of paper, sorry. And then the students have to write a question, a general question, on each piece of paper. Okay, so 2 questions in total. For example, what is your favorite animal? What is your favorite
I guess these could be,
language?
you could play these at low levels, at high levels.
Mhm.
You could say that they need to be quite a complex question, something like that. Okay. If it's for B2 levels or whatever, or B1 even.
Mhm. So the teacher, you should go around and monitor the students whilst they're writing their questions, making sure everything is correct, grammar, spelling, things like this. And then the students crumple up their piece of paper into a snowball, and then they get to throw their snowballs at their fellow students, which I'm sure will be a lot of fun for your students. So essentially what happens is the student who's throwing the first snowball, so let's say I'm throwing the first snowball at Josh. I will throw the snowball at Josh. Josh will then uncrumple the snowball and read the question. So my question to Josh is, what's your favorite animal? And then Josh will respond to the rest of the class uh, what his favorite animal is and expand on that answer. So why is a lion Josh's favorite animal? And Josh will give reasons as to why a lion is his favorite animal. And
Exactly.
then
I think it's always a good idea. Sorry to interrupt. I think it's always a good idea as Luke was saying, don't just get them to answer the question, but get the person throwing or someone else in the class to ask some follow-up
follow
questions.
the question.
Okay. It's always, I think it's always a bit of a pity when teachers let the student just answer the direct question because in general, you're going to be in a conversation, and it really helps if one question becomes a conversation. Okay?
Mhm. And then obviously we want to keep the classroom as tidy as we can. So after the recipient of the snowball has answered sufficiently, pop that snowball into the bin, and then they get to throw a snowball at another student. Don't throw it back to the original student because then that would be kind of a bit selfish between those two. So yeah, then the students can throw their snowballs between one another, answering questions, extending their answers, asking follow-up further questions, so they can expand their language, expand their use of the language, and then yeah, just repeat until all of the snowballs have been thrown, all of the questions have been answered, and as always, as teachers, maybe we um, what I'm trying to say, we lead by example. Okay, so we would throw the first snowball or maybe answer the first question, so the students can kind of understand the concept of the activity, but also like the instructions. Okay, so you may get one or two students who may not have understood the instructions completely. So if we then demonstrate what we want, then it could give those students who have not understood a visual kind of a visual demonstration of what is
Yeah,
required.
very good point. Something I should have put in here, I guess, is to make sure you demo it first. I would say, get one of the students to throw a snowball at you, at the teacher, and then answer that, see if they can follow up with some questions, and then you can do it to someone else, follow up with some questions, and then they should have the idea by then. Okay. Um, it's to be honest, it's an activity, I guess, because it's a snowball fight. We can say it's winter, but it can be appropriate for any time of year. It's not necessarily themed around winter, apart from the fact that it's snowball, so you could use it in any time. Okay.
Uh,
Oh, sorry, that was the
yeah, I
point.
suppose it was just that. It's fine.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Something I wanted to talk about is this game, Mad Libs, which is a game that's adaptable in many different situations. Okay. Mad Libs is a game in which players ask for a random noun, verb, place, celebrity, exclamation, or part of the body, which is then inserted into a pre-made sentence. Okay. So this sentence produced because the students, how can I say, they don't, well, the players of the game don't necessarily know what the sentence is. It turns out to be quite absurd or ridiculous, but it gets the students thinking about the parts of speech. So, what is a noun? What is a verb? You can even do things like uncountable nouns, transitive verbs, things like that. Okay, or verb tenses too, present perfect, past simple. Okay, things like this, infinitive, gerund. Okay. So a pair of students receive a winter themed sentence. Okay, and we've made some for you. Okay, with a gap or two. This can be done by dictation, or again, you can use the ones we've given. In pairs, they have to work out the best word to fill the space. So this is sort of how we're demoing it. Okay, and they have to identify what type of speech there is. So is it an adverb? Is it a verb? Okay, as well as any more specific information, as I was saying before. So they can, by looking at the gap, they can work out what sort of verb it is. And to be honest, this is very good training for things like Cambridge exams where you have gap fill exercises, and it can really help by getting students to do that. And, obviously when we're talking about something that is a exam task, it's also related to real life. We need to be able to spot our own errors and realize why we've written something and it doesn't make sense. Okay. So then the fun begins. Okay. So you choose one pair of students. They have to ask another pair for a word. And again, this is just, they say, okay, I need a past simple verb or a beverage or a color without showing them the full sentence. Okay. The students with the sentence now have to read back the sentence with the verb inserted. Okay, so let me give you an idea of what we're talking about here. So, okay, This would be the words in capitals here are the words in the normal sentence. We bundled up in our heavy coats and headed outside to build a snowman. Now, heavy obviously talks about an adjective here, and snowman, we're talking about a noun, a thing. Okay. So if I said to you, without having looked at this sentence, I said to Luke, okay, give me an adjective, okay, give me a noun. Okay, he might say something like, "What's an adjective?" Hey, Luke.
Do you want me to actually tell you what an adjective is? To
No,
describe
no,
one.
an example. Okay,
Oh, blue
blue. Okay, and a noun.
lamp.
So that could become we bundled up in our blue coats and headed outside to build a lamp. Okay. But it can be, we played around the wrong way, I guess, because, it was a bit too close to sort of making sense. But you could have, for example, we bundled up in our intelligent coats and headed outside to build a notebook. Look, these are just some ideas that it could be, but it can be really fun when you get playing. And I've given you some sentences that have these how can I say spaces that can make them a bit more interesting and fun to play. Okay.
I think,
So
sorry
we've
to,
got these. This is one of the worksheets that will be in there. And so you can get these sentences. And to be honest, they're very easy to make. You can just write a sentence or find a sentence on whatever theme you're talking about. Okay, we've obviously got winter Mad Libs. It can be any topic you're talking about. Okay, it can be appropriate to whatever topic even if you're doing civics. So if you're doing, I don't know, uh, the Romans in Britain or the Anglo-Saxons or something like that. Okay, you could always do those and just get a bit of fun going. Sorry,
I
you.
think, yeah, sorry, Josh. I think an activity like this is really good for reinforcement. So this could be done to kind of close down a lesson or maybe to recap what was done in a previous lesson. Because we know kind of generally students remember the more absurd answers. Okay, so this can be done, like I said, and the more absurd answers that they get, ours was a little bit vanilla, should we say? We'll get them to kind of remember what was being taught, like the adjectives or the noun or the adverbs or the adjective. Yeah, sorry,
Exactly.
whatever it may have been. So I think this is good. It's fun because like the students, yeah, like you say, they give an element of language which is unexpected. So the sentence does inevitably become a bit ridiculous, but it gets them thinking and they remember it a little bit more because it's so outrageous.
And I mean, obviously, with these sentences, you can also play in a second round and try to make them make sense. Okay,
Mhm.
so this first one here we have, and in here we have it was a winter morning. It was a lovely winter morning, and the snow was glistening in the sunlight. Okay, that would be okay. You don't want to start with that, but that's what they would probably end up with, or something like that. There's not always one solution, but to get there, they can make fun thing. And obviously there might be some errors, and that's where you can notice students are, not paying attention, or you can get a bit of peer correction going, which is always a good idea. One student says something, and okay, is that correct? Can anyone think why there's a problem with that? Yeah. Coming to the last part, we're going to talk a little bit about Robert Frost, a great American poet, and I think someone in the chat did notice that
It was mentioned, yeah.
I did say that he had even a wintry name. Okay,
There's Marissa.
as I said, which better poet would be appropriate for winter than the aptly named Robert Frost? He was crossed over the centuries. Okay, he was an American poet renowned for his depictions of rural New England life. New England as the sort of part of America above New York, I guess, and or north of New York, and his command of everyday speech. Although he was born in San Francisco, he moved to Massachusetts in New England after his father's death. And in collections such as North of Boston, okay, which gives you an idea of the sort of New England area. Frost poetry often explored themes of nature, isolation, human emotions, and blending. He always used to blend simple language with profound insight. So it's not something that your students are probably going to find a whole lot of difficult vocabulary in. I mean, it won't be, A1 or A2, but I think a B1 or B2 student won't have too many problems with it. Um, One interesting thing about him was that he actually read at John F. Kennedy's inauguration in 1961 in the middle of winter. In fact, it was a very wintry day, I believe. Um, and one of his most famous poems takes place in rural New England in the middle of winter, and it's called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Okay, let's have a listen to Robert Frost reading it. I think I'm going to be able to see it here too.
Stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep.
Don't know about that electronic music at the end. Yeah, but as you can see, it's like quite a sort of simple poem with some with a deeper meaning. Okay, um, and just to think about it, it has quite an interesting rhyme scheme. It goes A, so the third line of every stanza becomes the first, second, and third, so first, second, and fourth lines of the next one. So it's all linking, and then the last stanza is all the same rhyme. Okay. Notice how the repeated soft sounds of the first stanza, these sort of whose, woods, think through, oh, sorry, though, okay, mimic this sort of wind and falling snow, this sort of or th sound, okay. Whereas when the thoughts of the narrator intrudes, it brings these sort of harder consonants, I think. Okay, queer. Okay, now again, look, to be honest, think has the soft consonant at the beginning and harder consonant at the end, but it's repeated there. You have the think queer. Okay, so this is sort of with Robert Frost. He's very conscious of these sort of effects of sound. Okay, um, the soft sounds again return, and again, there's all these different sounds, but we're talking about the repetition of these. He gives his harness bells a shake. Okay, so we have this sh sound when the horse's movements bring the narrator back from his thoughts. And then this repetition of this last line, the miles to go before I sleep. I think when there's a repetition of a line in a poem, you always know there's something going on. There's a reason for it, and it probably means that they want you to think a little bit beyond the actual surface meaning. Okay? So it could be a clue, and I think it is a clue that he wants us to go beyond this surface meaning. So in many of Frost's poems, we have a sort of simple theme, a sort of simple idea that comes with a sort of terrifying insight. Robert Frost is a poet who's often misunderstood as a sort of simple nature, let's say, sort of postcard or birthday card sort of poet, but he's very dark. Okay. And so what is it that is luring this narrator to stay in the snow? Is it the idleness and a desire to avoid his responsibilities? So, for example, he says, I have promises to keep. Or could it be something darker, desire for death and oblivion? Lovely. He talks about this snow, the winter scene as lovely, dark, and deep. So we have this sort of like some sort of a death drive or the wish for oblivion. Okay. There is a similar poem, or a poem that talks about the sort of similar things about the association that we generally have of darkness with evil and white with good. Okay, whereas he flips it there, and in design he shows how this sort of darkness and white sort of both have this, and I guess there's sort of something to do with Moby Dick there too, if you wanted to make that connection. Okay. Anyway, just coming to conclusions, winter's contradictions. So we have the white snow, the dark nights, the cold outside and the warm inside, the isolation we feel when it's cold outside, but the fact that we can be together, particularly at Christmas times and, in a warm home. It does allow us a nice range of themes, vocabulary, and activities to evoke the season. Okay. Um, there are many other works of literature which you could talk about winter, A Winter's Tale by Shakespeare, obviously, but particularly favorite of mine is The Snowman. It's a poem by a contemporary and actually a friend of Robert Frost, Wallace Stevens, a very great poet, quite a bit more difficult than Robert Frost, so it might be interesting to you, but you might need to prepare a little bit to do it with your students. And as always, winter clothes, winter foods, winter festivals, and customs from around the world or local customs really make good content for English lessons. So it's always worth, we've looked at spring, we're looking at winter, sorry, we've looked at autumn, we've looked at winter, we will be looking at spring as these sort of themes. So it's always a good idea to look at the sort of what you have in front of yourself, what the kids are dressed in, what they're eating. Is there vocabulary they don't know that they could talk about? These are sort of things they're going to be familiar with, and mixed with the fact that in other landscapes, in other countries, there's things they're not going to be familiar with. Okay. Anyway, as always, coming to the end, we have many ideas for future webinars, but I would really like to put it out that you're welcome to either email us at Formazione or put in the chat now about some ideas. Thanks a lot for your attention, and everyone will receive a certificate of participation. We should be, excuse me, sending that out tomorrow. If you don't receive it, check your spam and then drop me an email at Formazione, and I'll get it out to you. And the handout contains these worksheets that you saw on the page, and also the links for the videos and a lot of other pages for activities that you can do. Our next webinar will be next week, and I'm going to be talking about teaching to the information gap. So here we have a bit more of a methodology. I think it'd be a really interesting webinar to attend. Okay. Thanks a lot to everyone who attended, and thank you particularly to Luke for accompanying me on this winter journey. Okay. I hope it's not too cold where you are, Luke, and also our participants, and hope to see you next week.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.